Hello, friends. I just picked up this cool new record in a bag of potato chips at my local record store, and I thought I'd give my good friend Steve a call and see if he can teach me how to do the Hully Gully. So, Steve, are you there?
Hello.
Steve, there's this dance going around like an awful disease. I think it's called the Hully Gully. Do you know how to do that dance?
It's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. Oh, wait.
Oh, very good. I knew those times are a changing. I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure exactly how. You know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate that because
Yeah.
I don't want to be a square at the new party, I want to make sure I'm hip like all the other teens and it's going to be such
Absolutely.
a gas and very fab and groovy.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I was
Greenwich
there.
Village, just like that.
Exactly like that. So there you go. We'll invite this girl. You might have met her. Her name is
Oh,
Baran.
yeah.
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 She'll get you rocking and a rolling and rocking and a
Yeah.
reeling.
Yeah. I went to a dance looking for romance, and I
Yeah.
think I saw her.
All right. Well, ba-doop boop.
All right.
Steve,
All
how we
right.
doing today? Are
So,
you?
party.
Yep. So last time, folks, we talked about several Beach Boys compilations and anthology releases. We got most of the ones from the 80s and 90s out of the way, but let's look at some of those more themed and focused sets. Steve and I have talked about Feel Flows. We talked about Sail on Sailor and some of those bigger releases in the past. Here are the little ones, but let's look at some of those one CD, two CD sort of sets, and we'll also get with the times and go digital for you today as well. So, Steve, let's talk Party Uncovered and Unplugged. What do you think?
This is one of my all-time favorite archival releases because, I guess it started with the Pet Sounds box set, but we're now into the era where we're getting deep dives into albums that are organized in a sensible way. Craig Selinsky's liner notes are really great, really accurate, and there's just lots of things on this that we'd never heard before. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I felt like we were well around this time in the, what, the early teens, early
This
mid-teens,
was 2015. It was for 50 years
2015,
of
so
Party, yeah.
mid-teens, really, really hitting the stride with the archival releases.
So, and this wasn't even the only release from 2015. We also got Live in Chicago, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'm still glad we have it. It's got some unique stuff on it. But yeah, in terms of party outtakes, we've only ever had Ruby Baby and from the Good Vibrations box set, and a couple like sessions and little things here and there. It's interesting to think, you might remember, friends, if you watched our last video, Steve and I left off on Hawthorne, California, which was the first time they tried to remix the party tunes without the overdubs to kind of
Right.
make them more, yeah, make them more organic, that sort of thing. We only get two. We get Devoted to You and Barbara Ann, and then they kind of did a highlight reel of some of the sessions and chatter that go with it, that kind of thing. But nothing of great substance. But like the Party 2 for CD, there's nothing from Party. It's all from Stacko tracks. So it was so exciting to actually see all these things that we had never heard before. And I honestly, and I've said this about Party before, the best stuff they recorded, they didn't use. I don't know.
Hmm.
Steve, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but there's certainly a lot of great stuff. I mean, they could have made it a double album if they'd wanted to.
Oh, that's true.
I don't think it was necessary, certainly. And I'm putting together actually for my channel a deep dive into Party, a two-parter. And this has been really useful just for research because it's so well documented and the discussion that goes on around the tracks. You feel like you're hearing the real Party that went on that was then overdubbed with the phony Party to make it sound like it
Right.
did for the album. Lots of studio chatter that is very telling about where their heads are at and what they're really trying to accomplish. This was an outstanding archival set.
Yeah, that chatter, I'm surprised how little of it they really ended up using. They recorded a whole introduction, which gave
Mm,
me a line that I used on you in our first video collab. Steve, you brought the records, that kind
yeah,
of thing. But some good gags in there. I mean, some of the stuff wouldn't have flown in the 60s. There's some jokes
Oh,
about marijuana, there's jokes about doing product placement, get out the Cokes, get out the Tab, get out
right.
the, all those different sodas and stuff. But
But it's cool having that behind the scenes that that's what they were thinking about. That's what
yeah,
was going on.
exactly. And a lot of songs on here that you would think the Beach Boys would have done elsewhere, like Long Tall Sally, Twist and Shout, stuff like that. It
Hmm.
really surprises me kind of how, Party is an album I have to be in just the right mood for to really enjoy. But this I find myself enjoying a lot more. I really like what
Yeah.
they've done with this.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, this almost seems like the genuine party that, because they're
Yeah,
obviously keeping it loose in the studio and goofing around, trying to
yeah,
maintain the
exactly.
feel. So,
Do you have the vinyl copy? I don't have one. They sell
no,
for exorbitant prices there.
no, I
But
don't.
it's just the original tracks, but with those new party, I should say, I guess down mixes would almost be more appropriate. The remixes without the sessions and things like that. But someday I'd like to get one, but they are extremely expensive. Don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. But what a fun set and a lot of unique stuff that we had never ever heard before. So pretty cool. Steve, you want to stay in the 2010s and look at another kind of
Sure,
anniversary archival
absolutely.
set? So, Steve, do you like Wild Honey? Sweet, sweet
Oh yeah.
baby. Eat it up. There you go. So, Steve, Sunshine Tomorrow has two kind of digital companions. I'll hold up pictures of those for our viewers at home in case they forgot about them, because they don't get talked about as much. It was the live digital sets and the kind of session stuff that they didn't use. It almost makes me think at one point this would have been a much bigger box set, and they kind of shrunk it to two discs, maybe not
Yeah.
exactly sure how it would go.
I wonder if they
But
were doing it today in the wake of Feel Flows and what's the second
Sail
one?
on Sailor?
Sail on Sailor.
Yeah.
If it would have been a box set.
I almost feel like it would have been with all those outtakes and stuff. Sunshine Tomorrow is a lot of fun. It's kind of all over the place. We get all of Wild Honey, we get all of Late in Hawaii. That was my big selling point in
Yeah.
2017. That was the number one thing I wanted on here. A few live things. A phrase I steal from you, Steve, is orphan live tracks. Those are definitely here. And then, odds and ends, smiley smile stuff. But Steve, what sticks out to you on Sunshine Tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean it does have the orphan live tracks, which I'm not really, I'd rather have a concert than just the odd live track here and there, unless it's some really unique thing, doesn't do a whole lot for me. Uh, at least all the tracks, I think there's an Aren't You Glad from 1970, but I believe all the other live stuff is at least from 67.
Yep, and
So
it's all here
it's
too as well.
it's got that going for it. Yeah, a lot of really cool stuff on it. Um, again, they give you the original album, which, anybody who's buying this undoubtedly has the original album. And again, the only reason I can think to do that is if you want to only then, want to just get down to having just this set, I suppose you could get rid of whatever other format you
Yeah.
got the album
Well,
on.
it's strange because for the 50th anniversary, they remixed a bunch of the albums, they re-released them. I don't think they did Wild Honey. I think they skipped it. But they did remix some of the tracks. They were on Made in California and stuff. I'm almost wondering if this was some kind of weird way to make up for kind of, but not really redoing Wild Honey for that. So they gave it the new mix here, and these mixes we see on some of the new compilations and sets and things. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's
that's a
it's
good point. I hadn't thought of that.
it is kind of weird because again, people who buy this, they would have been at least familiar with Wild Honey, that
Sure,
sort of stuff. But
sure.
and of course, Poor Mama Says is still in mono. Everything else got stereo for sure,
Mm.
but I guess they couldn't get the parts that they needed to remix that. But yeah, speaking of kind of those live orphans, with the exception of that Aren't You Glad, which I think was done at like the Big Sur Festival or something, everything else is here in this jumbo live set. And this is cool because we get the Hawaii concerts, which are kind of their own animal. And then we get some very early Wild Honey tour stuff. So songs like Country Air and How She Boogalooed It, they didn't really stick around the live set. And then we kind of get to see what a 1967 Beach Boys concert would have been like. So this set is a lot of fun. It's a little unwieldy, but I do like the stuff that's included. Have you listened to the other digital sequel, which has a few odds and ends in it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The live stuff. I guess it's nice enough to have it, but how many live versions of Good Vibrations do you really want?
Especially because they're all about the same, really.
Yeah,
They've gotten
right,
to a
right. I
point
mean, yeah,
where,
it's not like the Beach Boys do a vastly different arrangement of anything. Uh, but like I say, I just as soon have it as not. But I didn't that the sessions part was, of course, the part that appealed to me most, just to be able to dig a little deeper. Uh, and it's what is it? It's with the acapella versions and the tracks and backing
Mhm.
vocals. So
Yep.
I don't go back to it a lot. It's fun to hear it once. It's fun to hear it once in a while. Um, I mean, certainly nothing there that I feel like is essential.
No, there isn't. There's a couple like cool things on here. Like I like the Getting Hungry instrumental. I listen to that a lot because I love the crazy organ. How
Hmm.
she boogalooed it's kind of fun because they do like partial instrumental, partial vocal. But the one track on here that really sticks out to me, they redid Surfer Girl for the Late in Hawaii stuff, but it's done in the past tense. They're singing about a surfer girl they once knew. And it's little things like that that are kind of cool and quirky.
I
But
don't I don't know that I've ever noticed that. I got to
I think
check that
it's
down.
I think
I
it's the
mean,
closer to this.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you're right, but
But
I've got it. I've got the track listing printed out here. So
okay, but it's fun
cool.
stuff. But I mean, indeed, nothing essential, of course. And this one, the CD has more of, I think, the interesting stuff, has a
Yeah,
little more meat to it
yeah.
to
This
kind
is,
of.
as you would guess, this is sort of the pick of the litter, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the digital sets are kind of cool. I figured we kind of lump all those together because they are all related. So, might
Sure,
as well do it that way. Steve, you ready to dive into digital land a little bit more, or are there any?
absolutely. Go. Let's go.
All right, let's go back to 2014. Steve, it's September now, but keep an eye on summer.
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool to
Yeah,
have a
I got
visual with it.
yeah, I gotta have a prop. I can't
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
without
No,
props.
that's
So
great.
so all their 1964 albums are represented here, some of course more than others and some better than others. But Steve, what are your thoughts on the digital set Keep an Eye on
Yeah, I
Summer?
was certainly happy to have it. I like the session excerpts. Love hearing a little bit of what was going on, or in the recording. Um, some of it where they've remixed again. Remixes to me are not particularly of any particular interest, unless like it's just to highlight some particular aspect. Like here's the backing track, here are the vocals.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, yeah, but it was a fun set, and it was really an exciting thing to get. It was when what was it? Was that the second year of having to do copyright protection?
I think so, because I think the only one that came before it was, and this one will be more appropriate when we do Brian's album someday, I think. But the Big Beat came first. I'm pretty sure that was the first time. Not a ton of Beach Boys stuff on there, mostly Brian solo stuff, Honey stuff, things like that. I think this was the first true blue Beach Boys one.
Yeah,
Either this or the other ones from that year. I'm not exactly sure which one came
yeah. I
first,
think
but
maybe those. I think those came right around the same time, anyway. But
they could have
probably
been
in
the same
December.
day.
Yeah,
As a downloadable, it doesn't maybe matter
right.
quite as
Yeah,
much. So
yeah. I mean, it seemed like they had quickly fallen into the habit of doing it in December, just before year end. Just before the 50 years lapsed. So it was really exciting because it was, as you say, as opposed to the Big Beat, this was actually a Beach Boys release. So that was cool.
anything stick out to you on this set? Anything you
Yeah,
go
I'm just
back
kind of
to a
looking
lot?
over the track list, because what I tend to do with this stuff, especially the downloads, is I tend to take it all and just note where it came from and when it was released, and then put it with other outtakes from that album. So I'll say, okay, here's the Surfer Girl sessions, here's the Shutdown Volume 2 sessions, and kind of put it all together and listen to it as outtakes from a particular album rather than just listening to Keep an Eye on Summer.
Yeah, no, I
So,
got you.
so I get a little foggy on what was on what because I have redone it,
Yeah,
restructured.
and this one's tricky in that regard because there's so much from Shutdown Volume 2, so much from All Summer Long, a lot of things from today. Early Beach Boys
Yeah,
Today stuff is on there too. and then a couple Christmas things, couple concert things.
Hmm.
Uh, But yeah, there's all, I mean, it goes all over the place. This is the only digital set I think that had digital liner notes. There was a
Oh,
website that had them. I don't think any of the other digital releases do.
oh, okay. Yeah, that was one of my. I don't think that I'm not sure that I ever found those liner notes.
If I can find it, I'll link it below. I know it's linked in my
Okay.
video and keep an eye on
Yeah.
summer.
I mean,
But
certainly that's always my complaint with digital releases is you don't get any context.
right, right.
And
And
with
then
these, I don't think they really cared. I think they were more interested in protecting the copyright. Although
right.
I don't know that now that I say that as saying that though, these remixes, that couldn't have been a copyright consideration, right?
I'm not
I mean,
sure
you know,
how it
well, a
works.
cappella, that's not a, necessary to release that as a copyright protection.
I don't know. It
So,
might depend on like the owner of the original song. I don't know where that's just like
yeah,
we talked about with Beach Boys Rarities in the last video, where do alternate versions and stuff fall exactly? I don't really know, to be honest.
yeah. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder how much of this really was. I mean, it, certainly because it came in December, it was 50 years. It felt like it was being released for copyright protection, but yeah, I'm not really sure how much of that's a consideration on some of this stuff that where it's
Hmm.
just a remix.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure either.
Hmm.
But I know because before there was a CD that we talked about reviewing and we're going to skip. Summer Love Songs was big in 2009 because it did a ton of remixing. If you want to hear Why Do Fools Fall in Love with the piano intro, I think this is the
Oh
only
yeah,
place to get it, that kind of thing. But
yes,
again, this was done, not even, well, heck, just a few years before that other set, and I don't think this would qualify as like a copyright protection sort of thing or anything like that. It was done to show these new tapes that had been discovered. So maybe there was some recent discoveries here that they wanted to kind of show off. I don't
maybe,
really, I'm
maybe.
not sure, but it
Yeah.
is a cool set.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was really exciting when it came out.
Mhm. Anything else on Keep an Eye on Summer?
I I just like it.
I like it too. So that same year we got, of course, the Beach Boys concert extended when Steve and I decided we're not going to dig too deep into the digital live sets. That's kind of its own animal. And many of these are extremely long and it's the same things over and over and over again. But it is cool to have it. And of course, in 2015, we've already done Party. We also got Live in Chicago, which I'm not a fan of, but I know some people are. And in 2016, we got a new Pet Sound set. Steve and I have talked about that before. And we got Graduation Day. Steve, where was this recorded again? You know
Yes,
better
the
than I
University of
do.
Michigan, just up that way a couple of miles. So,
There you go. So we can trust Steve. He's a local. He knows what he's talking about.
yeah, yeah.
And
Wish
so
I'd
Steve,
been a little bit older and made it to that show, but I
yeah.
was so
No, okay, yeah, you say.
had to
And
get
would
up to
your
go to kindergarten in the morning.
Yep, and would
First
your
grade,
parents really
first
have
grade.
wanted to take you, that kind of
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
growing
Well,
up.
that's like
So
John Lennon played Chrysler Arena here in town, one of the only shows he did outside in 1971, the John Sinclair benefit. And yeah, man, John Lennon played in my hometown, but again, I was 10, so
yeah.
I wasn't going to go to
Yeah. So, Steve, let's fast forward a little bit. 2018, we got two, well, actually, we got three, actually, we got four things that year. We got Royal Philharmonic album. You and I have talked about that. We got the giant Beach Boys digital set, which I did an enormous review on that took me forever. I actually worked on it while I was in Europe,
Wow.
on tour. Again, that's a story for another day because that could be a whole video in and of itself. But we got two of these. Steve, do you want to start with Wake the World or start with I Can Hear Music?
Let's do Wake the World because I've got it right in front of me here.
Right, sounds good. So, Steve, you've done some wonderful videos on the Friends album that were a huge help to me when I was like researching to make my video on this and stuff. Really cool stuff. Steve, your thoughts on Wake the World?
I love the early versions, alternate versions. That's the kind of thing I want these sets for, is the actual material that I've never heard before. And there's quite a bit here. Alternate version, Wake the World, Meant for You. Just going down the list here. When a Man Needs a Woman, alternate take of Be Still, the early version of Busy Doing Nothing, Even Steven.
Yep.
Well, lots of things I hadn't heard before, and that's always exciting.
My favorite one, their instrumental of Rock and Roll Woman, Buffalo Springfield's Rock and Roll Woman.
Mm,
I was so impressed with that. I wish we had a good quality studio version of that. That would have been great.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
with vocals, that would have been.
Yeah, because they had toured with Buffalo Springfield, and on the 67 digital sets, Buffalo Springfield joins them for Sloop John B. And it's really good. And I wish we had more stuff like that. So it's really
Yeah.
cool to have that here. We have a little bit of Smile stuff at the end. We have Child is the Father of the Man, and we have like a hidden track. I think it's Barnyard, if I remember correctly. Like a Smile outtake that what hasn't
Mm,
been widely released. There's this kind of a fun little surprise at the end there. I'm kind of surprised there aren't more outtakes in terms of like different songs. Almost everything on here for Friends are those alternate takes, early versions,
right.
acapellas and stuff. We don't have a ton of songs that they had worked on or planned or started, but ultimately didn't end up using.
Yeah. 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 Well, I don't think there was a lot to spare, probably.
It doesn't seem like it, yeah. So, but it is a fun set, and I think a lot of people love the Friends album today. At the time in 1968, from some of the
Mm,
things Mike Love said in the live set, you can tell they didn't love the Friends album at that point. But
yeah.
I'm so glad we do have this kind of some interesting stuff to recontextualize it. But honestly, Steve, I was much more impressed by I Can Hear Music,
Hmm.
because there's a
Yeah.
lot here.
Great set. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, just
So,
looking down, early version of Do It Again, uh, demo of I Can Hear Music, Be With Me demo, uh, All I Want to Do with Dennis on the lead vocal, which
And
is
I think, Steve, that's the only track that was originally released on one of these and then went on physical media later. It was on
okay.
Sounds of Somerset, so
That
you
makes
could get
sense.
it on vinyl
Well,
and
it's
stuff.
certainly I don't care for the track, but I prefer the Dennis version, certainly.
It's a little more organic, I think. Mike Love, you can tell, is going for, helter skelter kind of
Yeah, yeah,
sexual craziness, and
yeah,
Dennis,
yeah.
I think, has a little more of the
Right.
more
Yeah.
of the, I guess,
Yeah.
realistic approach.
So yeah, a lot of great. I'm just flipping through here and seeing what else. Because again, I break these up. So
Yeah. So what about the things that maybe don't quite have a home? Like look at the very end of that track list. There's Oh Yeah, the Beach Boys harmonizing with a child, and there's an Audrey Wilson track, I think
yeah,
the only one we've ever gotten. So
right.
where exactly did those
And did we
fall?
get? I mean, is there any explanation? I don't remember if I ever saw where that was from or why that was included here.
No, I'm assuming it's from 1968, but that's
Yeah, I
all I
mean,
can
maybe I
tell
knew
you.
all this at some time and have some notes somewhere about it, but I honestly I
I
can't remember off the top of
Like
my
I
head.
said, the only set I can find liner notes for is Keep an Eye on Summer. The rest of them, I don't think there's anything.
Yeah,
If there is, I couldn't find it.
yeah, and that's really a shame to have this stuff in no context.
Yeah, especially with some of those weird things, like again, those last couple tracks, like we don't know who that child is that the Beach Boys are singing with for Oh Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. It's kind of frustrating.
yeah,
And a lot of reissued stuff on here, which this I kind of get because things like Old Man River, that kind of stuff really hadn't been widely available since some of those CDs we talked about in the last video, Endless Harmony soundtrack, Hawthorne, California, that kind of stuff. So people who these are out of print as far as I know,
right.
people who couldn't get those, they finally have a chance
Yeah,
to own them, even though it's only in digital form, but better than nothing.
right. And so much of what was on those sort of grab bag early CD deals like Hawthorne, California, and yeah, Endless Summer. So much of those that appeared elsewhere, those were becoming kind of obsolete anyway. So anything that's still left from those, it'd be nice to see it picked up and released someplace else, so we can kind of put those older CDs away.
Yeah, very good. But yeah, both of these grab bags, where did I put my hot air? Both of these grab bags still have unique stuff, you know.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah. It's you still gotta have
yeah,
them.
that's just it. That's the curse of being a Beach Boys completist.
Oh
There's
yeah,
always something to
yeah.
buy. So
but yeah, I mean, these it was just so great to have these things come out. Of course, I would have again preferred a physical box like we started getting with Feel Flows.
Yeah, I wonder why they opted not to kind of combine these and make, a 1968 set,
I mean, I suppose,
thrown in some live stuff.
particularly because they hadn't done it before, they just were worried about whether it would sell, to make the physical media, make a big book where people going to shell out. And there's not really tons of things here that aren't, that are brand new,
No,
that are
that, yeah.
remixes. And so that I suppose it was just a financial, somebody sat down and did the math and said, we might not sell enough to make it worth our while.
I know Feel Flows was a minor charting hit in the US, but there's so much stuff on Feel Flows you can't really get anywhere else. I just
Yeah.
did my deep dive video there last week, and people said, "Oh, I hate the mixing, I hate the sequencing, that kind of stuff." But it's like, if you don't get this, there's stuff on here you won't have.
Yeah, there's some
That's
great stuff.
kind of
Yeah.
the catch-all. Now, Sail on Sailor, I don't think charted in the US. And the weird thing is with Sail on Sailor, I need to do a deep dive on this someday too, is that how they're really showcasing the Carnegie Hall stuff on the bigger releases. That's kind of the main draw to the point where it overshadows Holland and Carl and the Passions. But
Hmm.
there weren't a lot of studio outtakes to play around with really, so
Right.
they had to come up with something different. But I do like the Carnegie Hall show, but yeah, but yeah, I guess you're right about that. I didn't really think of it that in terms of unheard songs, there's not really a lot
Right.
per se. I'll get rid of you.
Yeah. Well, I guess, that Sail on Sailor must have done well enough if they're going to do a Love You box set, which I keep hearing is going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. I'm hoping for it because there's so many outtakes from 15 Big Ones and that kind of that whole era that you could easily make a box set.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and so, of course Al Jardine's pushing "Love You" in his live shows, doing almost
Right.
the whole album, which I'd love to hear, but he's not coming anywhere near me, so I
Yeah.
can't
Same here.
can't catch him there, which is a shame. But yeah, that'll be fun. And honestly, Sail and Sailor got really good reviews. It might
Hmm.
not have charted, but you didn't get a lot of the complaints about Feel Flows here. So I think fingers crossed for that. And so yeah, that box set, which is supposed to be out later this year, I don't know if that's going to happen. And then we have Brian Wilson's Cows in the Pasture, which will be interesting. We're supposed to have that coming out at some
Right.
point. And
Yeah.
then next year, Beach Boys Unplugged, which will be really interesting, I think, to hear
Oh,
about.
I hadn't.
Yeah,
It,
so when David Logan and I interviewed, he's been pushing for this release. He has archival recordings of Brian and Carl doing like acoustic covers of different songs. He got Mike and David Marks involved and Al, and they're supposed to release an album of unplugged versions of Beach Boys songs, light instrumentation just by the
oh,
Beach Boys. So
so
that's the
it's Brian and Carl later overdubbed by the other guys. Is that?
I think it's like a tape that they made years ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So
I
yeah,
hadn't
that's
heard about it. Very
so
cool.
if you know anyone who's interested, make sure to push it out because David Logan says it's 100% dependent on like fan enthusiasm and that
Oh,
kind of
okay.
stuff.
Well, how can I show my enthusiasm?
That's
Yeah,
there you go. That's very
release it.
enthusiastic. Well, I just get enough people interested in it or something.
Okay, well, good,
But that's
good. Well, yeah,
yeah,
I hope,
that's
hope we see that.
yeah, he talks more about the songs that were picked and who sings them and stuff in the interviews I did with him. But we have supposedly of that in 2026, and hopefully, Steve, in 2026, you will get what you want more than anything else, Stars and Stripes Volume 2. But
Oh, yeah.
might be
I
waiting a long
haven't
time for
slept
that one.
since 1996, waiting for volume. Was it 96? I think
Yeah,
so.
96. It's
Yeah,
the anniversary year, so they'll
yeah,
produce the
yeah. It's
volume.
volume two, finally. Well,
Yeah,
there
that
is,
one's
I'm always surprised how much there is. The vault, so to speak, just seems to be deeper and deeper every time. When the Dennis Wilson Pacific Ocean Blue deluxe set came out, I thought, well, surely that's everything in the vault that's worth hearing that Dennis did. And then on those sets, we've got all this other stuff,
yeah, heck.
yeah,
Feel Flows has a whole segment that's just
right,
Dennis
right.
stuff,
It was
and
like,
it's brilliant.
wow, wow. And a
Yeah.
lot of even in some of the things that I read about, going all the way back to that Byron Priest book, I kind of suspected that some of the things had been talked about and not actually recorded. That they had an idea, oh, we're going to do this, and then maybe never actually sat down and recorded it. But there's, I thought there was probably less there than met the eye. There's certainly far more there than meets the eye.
So as completists, our work will never be done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with this 50th anniversary stuff, I just hope I live long enough to hear all of it. You know,
No, if
I'm
it ever
gonna have to be,
gets,
I'm gonna
if it
have
ever
to be what, 102 to get the 50th anniversary of That's Why God Saved the Radio. So I guess it's
well,
keeping me healthy. I gotta keep on breathing.
well, Steve, if you lose the ability to drive, I'll get an extra one, drive it out to you. You just have to
Okay,
ask. No
thanks.
problem there. All right. Hey, folks, this has been Steve and I talking about Beach Boys anthologies and compilations. Please comment your favorites or hopes for the future below. Make sure to check out Steve's channel with the Beach Boys Basement. Steve, any parting words for our friends and
Well, just thanks for
watching?
having me on. It's really a lot of fun. I like the rambling conversation that we do. Never know where it's going to go, and it always goes someplace interesting and fun. So thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, no, but that's what makes it fun is just to talk Beach Boys, you know. You and I could do some structured, orderly debate, and oh, who would watch that? There'd be a
Yeah.
bunch of nonsense. So it's fun just to talk Beach Boys with people who love the Beach Boys. So, Steve, thanks again for being on. We always love to have you here, and we'll see you next time. Friends,
Bye.
stay well. We'll see you again in the future.